$1.3 billion, that's a lot of money.
Yes.
Where can you find the opportunity versus, say, the value trap, when like everyone's now talking about how sexy ESG is and they want to invest in it?
Yeah, so not only ESG, but the terms impact investing are really hard to get away from these days. It seems like everybody's trying to get into that space in some way or another. For KKR, it's really part of a journey that started about 12 years ago when we first started, two things happened. One is we first started taking into account environmental, social, and governance issues, so ESG issues, started taking them into account during our private equity investment process. And more importantly, started partnering with our portfolio companies to help them improve their environmental and social performance while also improving business performance.
So in that, if you were looking at investing in a retail company, they come to you and be like, let's make sure that they're sourcing from the right places and not using like child labor in China or something.
Absolutely, reducing risk by partnering with them on topics like responsible sourcing, and then driving value by partnering with them on things like reducing fuel use or energy use in their facilities. The second thing that started happening 12 years ago is that we were starting to make investments in companies that we thought were really helping to solve critical challenges in their marketplace. And we were doing that through our flagship private equity infrastructure funds. And we recognized, maybe more important than the fact that we were making those investments, was that we realized that there were also more commercial opportunities there that we couldn't really achieve because our funds were too large and there were a lot of opportunities in sort of the middle market private equity space. So those two things really built a track record and a deep understanding of these topics. And then we were also at the same time hearing from our fund investors that they really liked our work and wanted to put more money to work in that. So sort of those things came together, and you know, our launching the impact fund was very intentional. We wanted to think about, what does KKR bring to this space? Like, impact investing space, very broad, a little confusing, but what does KKR bring? And so the strategy we launched is something that we think really builds on our core competencies.
And I like that you brought confusing, because like you said, the buzzwords are all out there, and some are greenwashing, some are not, and there's different definitions to certain things, and it's hard to have a good metric. So I'd love to get like a specific example of a company that you invested in and sort of why and like what it's trying to fix and what kind of return profile you can expect from that.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk all day on the terminology issue. I know we don't have all day, but everybody who knows me knows I could. I mean, I think, you know, one thing that has really gotten in the way of progress on ESG and impact investing is confusion around what are we talking about when we say those terms. For us, ESG is really thinking about, how does a company operate and how do we help partner with that company and improve that performance to help them both protect and enhance value. And then impact investing is really about investing in companies whose core product or service is helping solve a challenge. In our case, we're using the UN Sustainable Development Goals as the framework for that.
So give me some specific examples.
Yeah, a great example. So one of the things that we started doing 12 years ago in partnership with the Environmental Defense Fund was working with a number of them to help them improve their environmental performance while also improving their business performance. So a lot of that was around energy efficiency work and helping them save costs. So a lot of the retail companies that were part of that program. And we built a real deep expertise in energy efficiency, and we've rolled that out to more than 50 companies globally. And you know, just to bring it back to the impact fund, that deep expertise that we built really fed into the first investment that we made with our fund, which is a company called Bargist Building Performance that's headquartered in Singapore. And BBP, as we call it, helps its customers, which are large industrial or commercial customers, reduce energy use in their heating, ventilation and air conditioning systems, which is something that, you know, through our work we recognized as a huge consumer of energy, can consume up to 40% of a facility's energy in industrial and commercial settings. So if you can find a solution that helps these customers reduce energy use there, you're really saving a lot of costs and then greenhouse gas emissions as well.
So one of the things that really interests me is how further along the curve on this issue the European investors and European LPs are compared to what's happening in the U.S. Talk to us about what you see sort of in the U.S. LP market and the U.S. client base. What are the things that clients are saying to you that they want to see? Yeah,
you know, I would say what you said was true 5 years ago, certainly 10 years ago or 11 years ago when I started at KKR. I am seeing, we've hit a tipping point, right? So 6 months ago, it was suddenly, you know, we're seeing interest from around the world, not just Europe and North America, but also Asia as well. And a lot of people really starting to focus on topics that are important to them, not only like how do we manage ESG issues broadly, but topics such as diversity and climate change as well.
And in terms of the types of investments you make, are they mostly global investments or U.S. focused? I mean, it's interesting that the fund is raised here. Does that mean that the target companies are here? And is that a way to really raise the profile of this issue across the board?
It's actually a global fund. It's called Global Impact Fund. And so we're investing in all the regions where KKR invests already and building on the networks and, as I was mentioning, the expertise over the past 10 years to find opportunities. And so 2 of our companies that we've invested in so far are in Asia, 4 are here in North America, and then we're also investing in Europe as well.
How do your clients ask about ESG?
So we see an increasing interest across the board. I mean, the European clients have been there for a while, as Elizabeth is saying, and we're really seeing it in the younger generation, so values investing, and kind of that negative demand, meaning we don't want to be invested in fossil fuel companies. So we're seeing it really from the millennial generation of investors bubble up, but also the larger institutions, so foundations and larger RIAs, where the client base there is actually asking for ESG sweeps on all of their investments, for greater activism of the portfolio managers to get involved with the companies on these issues. So, for us as well, in the equity world, we're definitely seeing it, and as well as the fixed income world, green bonds. So it's really something that's, I don't want to use the word exploding, but it's really growing very rapidly here. And I think 5 years from now, the demands from the client base are going to look very different than they did 10 years ago here in the US.
I would say this is now business as usual for all of us. And, luckily we've been building on this for the last 12 years. And the Global Impact Fund is part of our efforts to help solve some of these real critical challenges. But it's going to take all of us.